Hello, my name is Kristen Collier, and I'm a behavior support specialist with the Montgomery County Board of Developmental Disabilities Services. Today's presentation is part one of a five-part series on the DD Bill of Rights, which outlines the rights of individuals with developmental disabilities. The DD Bill of Rights was created to lay out a plan of care based on the protection of basic human rights. Individuals under our care should not have to fear that their needs will not be met. Over the course of these presentations, we will work towards understanding the following goals: empowering our individuals to know and claim their rights and give them the opportunity to make their own decisions, understanding as caregivers how to recognize, respect, protect, and fulfill the rights of people with developmental disabilities, and understanding when individuals may need help standing up for their rights through advocacy. Today, we will focus specifically on the group of rights known as protective rights. These include the rights to fair treatment, dignity, choice, free speech, and protection. Let's first discuss the right to fair treatment, the right to be treated equally as citizens under the law. As providers, it is our role to ensure our individuals the same access to facilities and services as anyone else in the community, as well as any necessary accommodations to be able to enjoy those facilities and services to the fullest. This may include mobility aids, hearing aids, interpreters, or other assistive devices. It's also your duty as a provider to respect the unique identities and beliefs of the individuals you serve. It is important to understand each individual's differences in gender, religion, age, sexuality, race, and ethnicity when delivering care, in order to promote an environment of tolerance and respect, even if these identities and beliefs are different from your own. Keep in mind that these human rights are enforceable by law for both your own agency as well as any other businesses that provide services to the individual you are caring for. Next, let's talk about the right to be treated with dignity and respect at all times. The ways in which people perceive respect may vary by individual, but there are some universal ways to ensure a person's dignity. Some ways you can do this as a provider are to treat your individuals as their own age. For example, during meal times, assist an individual in using a napkin while eating instead of putting a bib on them that's intended for babies, and in using a knife and fork instead of their hands. Provide support to those who are capable of using a toilet instead of leaving them in a diaper solely for convenience. Providers should also be sure to always talk to and about the individuals they serve with the same respectful language that they would anyone else. Avoid talking to others about behaviors or accidents in front of the individual, as this can be a source of anger or embarrassment. Imagine how you would feel if your shift replacement came in and your coworker told them that you had an accident today because you couldn't make it to the bathroom in time. If someone in your care is trying to communicate with you, listen. Oftentimes, if someone feels ignored, they will engage in maladaptive behaviors to get attention. It's important that when someone reaches out, their needs are met. To some older individuals in your care or their families, it may be important that they are addressed by Mr., Miss, or Mrs., as you would address people of a similar age in the community, or as you would address people to whom you provide a service. We should always take the time to ensure those whom we serve feel seen and respected. Lastly, we should assist the individuals we serve throughout their daily regimens, such as getting ready, doing chores, and eating meals. It can be difficult to keep to a schedule when caring for multiple individuals, and it can seem easier to streamline your day by just doing things for them, like washing them or changing them. However, it is so important to take on the role of assisting rather than doing everything for those in your care. Instead of washing an individual in the shower, encourage them to take the soap and wash what they can reach. If they're having a difficult time, ask if they would like some help and allow them time to answer. If they say no, respect this decision. The best way to show those in your care dignity and respect is to ensure that they retain their independence and power of choice, while also ensuring their health and safety. If something like washing becomes a health concern if they do not shower at least once a week, bring this up to the SSA, and a behavior support specialist may be brought on to determine why the individual does not want to take a shower and come up with strategies to help ensure the individual's health is maintained along with their independence. This brings us to the right to choice. Everyone has the right to participate in decisions that affect their lives, both daily and long term. As providers, we must promote the individual's free, meaningful, and active participation in these choices. We can do this by first giving information to individuals in a form that they will understand. Some people understand information in pictures better than in spoken words. For those who benefit from viewing pictures, if you're asking them to do a particular task, like wash their hands, put a step-by-step picture chart above the sink and point to the step they should do next, rather than explain it to them with words. Or if you're planning an outing and want to know if they would like to go, show them pictures of the place first instead of describing it to them verbally. Respect that some people may not process information in the same way that you do, and meet them where they are to facilitate the most effective communication between the two of you. Providers should also offer choices to individuals throughout the day to help them feel seen, heard, and in control of their own lives. Some good ways to do this would be to allow individuals to choose an outing to put on this month's calendar, asking individuals to help build their daily schedules, or using a choice board to assist an individual in choosing from a list of available foods, items, or activities. Choices should be offered several times throughout the day. Lastly, providers should learn what goals and services are important to each individual they serve. Always start by reading the individual's ISP and DINA, as these goals are laid out in the plan, along with action steps to help the team come together to make these happen. Providers should also talk to and spend time with the individuals they serve. As the member who spends the most time one-on-one with an individual, you are in the unique position to best know the goals and services that are most important and that should be added to the plan. If you're working with an individual who does not communicate with words, you can still get to know them through expressions, body language, gestures, picture communication, or even ASL. Let's discuss a scenario in which an individual goes to the store with her provider to choose some new clothes. The individual is with her provider in a clothing store. The provider sees a shirt and decides that it is perfect for the individual. However, the individual does not like it and feels that it is too babyish. Take a moment to consider what skills you think the provider could use to respect the individual's rights in this scenario. Let's keep in mind that the individuals we serve have a right to choose their own clothing, just like we do. Clothing is often a reflection of our own personal interests and style. If the individual does not know what exact shirt she wants, the provider here can support her by asking questions like, "What is your favorite color?" Stop. I'm going to redo this slide. Start. Let's discuss a scenario in which an individual goes to the store with her provider to choose some new clothes. The individual is with her provider in a clothing store. The provider sees a shirt and decides that it is perfect for the individual. However, the individual does not like it and feels that it's too babyish. Take a moment to consider what skills you think the provider could use to respect the individual's rights in this scenario. Let's keep in mind that the individuals we serve have a right to choose their own clothing, just like we do. Clothing is often a reflection of our own personal interests and style. If the individual does not know the exact shirt she wants, the provider here can support her by asking questions like, "What's your favorite color? Do you like buttons or no buttons? Do you want long sleeves or short sleeves?" etc. Using this information, the provider can show the individual some options and respect the individual's final decisions, even if the provider does not like this choice. The provider can also support the individual by assisting in trying on the clothes and helping keep track of the budget and talking to the individual about price. Part of assuring that the individuals we serve have a voice at the table is by protecting their right to free speech. Our individuals have the right to voice their concerns and recommend changes to their services without restraint, interference, coercion, discrimination, or reprisal. In other words, an individual has the right to ask for these changes without getting in trouble. As the provider protecting the individual's daily right to free speech, it is important to recognize all types of communication as valid communication. Even if you know an individual can talk, or if they're in speech therapy to work on verbalizing their wants and needs, be sure to meet them where they are in the moment. If they choose to show you a picture of a glass of water or bring you a cup and point to water, they're making an effort to communicate with you what they need and are doing so in an appropriate fashion. It's important to validate any attempts at communication when they occur, because when an individual feels they are unable to get their wants or needs across, they may feel the need to engage in maladaptive behaviors such as aggression or property destruction. Make efforts to understand what is being expressed by repeating back what you understand and getting confirmation from the individual that that is what they mean. Here's an example you may have seen before with an individual you have served. If a person is sitting by the front door with their coat on, what do you think they're trying to communicate? Maybe they want to leave, or they don't like something in the room. Maybe the activity you have asked them to do is not a good match for their needs. Ask the individual what they want. I see you sitting by the door. What do you want? Repeat what they communicate back. Get the agreement that you understand. Afterward, write down what you find out and inform the team. This information is valuable to ensure the entire team is able to recognize a person's specific way of communicating a given want, and ensuring that everyone who serves the individual can provide them an opportunity to communicate this want for themselves. Next is the right to vote. Everyone has the right to vote and to learn about laws. Individuals have the right to attend public meetings and should be told about them before they happen. Individuals should have a say in the policies and laws that affect them. Let's discuss a scenario in which the individual you are working with wants to vote. As their provider, it is your role to educate the individual about the candidates in a way that they will understand. You could watch videos about the candidates or about the voting process, make a social story, or use pictures to communicate what is happening in the current election. Do not give your opinion, only educate with facts. Individuals have the right to make choices, and everyone has the right to the dignity of risk from their personal choice. Try to personalize your education based on the individual's interests. For example, if an individual enjoys going to the library, let them know which politician supports funding local libraries. Educate the individual about how to vote in a way that they will understand. Answer any questions they may have and have discussions about the issues. When voting day comes, support the individual by arranging transportation and adding voting to their daily schedule. Accompany them to the polls and explain to a voting station volunteer that the individual will need help to vote. After voting, get a sticker and a special treat. Celebrate this day and watch the returns. If their candidate does not win, support the individual in the loss and reassure them that they will have other opportunities to vote. Our individuals not only have the right to vote in major elections, but they also have the right to participate in the local politics that shape the communities in which they live. Imagine you're a provider to an individual who wants to go to a community meeting about her experience with public transportation. The individual wants to discuss the need for more buses and her personal issues with getting a job due to insufficient transportation. It's her turn to talk, but you keep interrupting her to explain to the group what you think she means, since you're worried she may not be able to get her point across effectively. Take a moment to think about what skills you could use to respect the individual's rights in this meeting. The provider in this scenario should let the individual talk. Allow the individual to ask for help if needed, or if the individual appears to struggle in getting her message across and grows frustrated, the provider can quietly and respectfully ask if she needs help. Allow the individual to say no and to make mistakes. If her point does not fully come across in the meeting, wait for the other members to ask for clarification and offer to help if the individual expresses a need for it. If the individual is not able to communicate verbally, the provider should support her through interpretation or assistance. The last of the protective rights we will discuss today is the right of an individual to choose someone to help them make the decisions that impact their lives. If a doctor determines that an individual cannot manage every aspect of their lives independently, they have the right to select a parent or advocate to speak on their behalf. Lastly, individuals have the right to protection under the law, even when they do not understand their rights. Let's briefly discuss the difference between a power of attorney and a guardian. A power of attorney can act as a partner with an individual when making big decisions. A Power of attorney is a good choice for individuals who understand their rights and can make some decisions about their care. The individual appoints someone to act for them in aspects of finance, healthcare, or both. The power of attorney can be changed or updated at any time, as long as the individual can make decisions for themselves. If an individual is at least 18 years old and unable to understand their rights and manage their lives in any aspect, the probate court can appoint a guardian to make decisions on their behalf. The individual's parent or relative can ask permission from the court to be the guardian. The individual will be represented by a lawyer, even if the individual or their family cannot afford one, in which case the court will appoint one. The individual should attend the hearing if they can, but if they will not understand the hearing, or if being there could hurt them or make them uncomfortable in any way, they can have a doctor say they don't have to be there. A guardian understands the rights of the individual and makes decisions in their best interest. It is important as a provider to respect the decisions of the guardian as you would respect the decisions of the individual themselves. This is the end of part 1 of the series on the DD Bill of Rights. You can now move on to the next part of the series, personal living rights. Thank you.